This story is particularly important to me because it is a gigantic, massive, I told you so, to the woke policies of the California government and Oregon and many of these idiots like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez by when they said, hey, everyone needs to have a $30 minimum wage. We need a $30 minimum wage. Now, just so we're clear, if you are somebody who benefited from the $30 minimum wage, stack your cash, king and or queen, I don't blame you for taking it. You didn't vote on that, so why wouldn't you get the money? I have no problem with that. The problem is when you mandate an excessively high minimum wage, you get exactly what we all knew was going to happen. When they did this to the fast food industry, what happened? All the workers were replaced by robots or kiosks. When they did this to the hospitality industry, everyone saw that dystopian video where you check in and check out on a Zoom call with some Indian guy, okay? Everybody saw what was going to happen. And this latest move is perhaps the biggest, most brutal, destructive swath as a result of massive increasing labor costs. And we're going to get into all that after a super quick word from this video sponsor. Shout out to this video sponsor, Private Internet Access. Look, if you aren't using a VPN yet, you're completely missing out, and Private Internet Access is the one I use on all of my devices. If you've been following the news, you see that censorship, websites, apps are getting shut down in certain countries, all sorts of craziness. Well, a VPN helps you never have to worry about that. Private Internet Access also protects you from the prying eyes of hackers, internet service providers, and others that can view your personal data. Perhaps also just as importantly, Private Internet Access allows you to access region-restricted content from all over the world. Streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and more have different library options based on where you're located, and some shows simply cannot be accessed if you're not in the target location. Happens to me all the time. Many sports events also have regional blackouts. Well, VPNs can be a convenient way to make sure you're getting the content that you're paying for. Private Internet Access also allows you to protect an unlimited amount of devices all at the same time, so your entire household with a single subscription. And I've been working with Private Internet Access so long that I have an absolutely massive discount available to my viewers. Link in the description below. Get Private Internet Access today using my link. Save huge, protect your computers, access all the content that you've been paying for, and ensure that your internet is Amazon to replace 600,000 United States workers with robots amid tech industry bloodbath. 600,000 jobs will be replaced by robots. How's that $30 minimum wage working out for you now? This is exactly what happened with McDonald's, what happened with the hospitality industry. Now, here's the thing. How many of those are U.S. workers? How many of them are illegal immigrants? That's a fair question to ask. Probably 20% of them, maybe 30% of them. But look, I want to also be clear. Corporations are going to corporation, and they were always going to try and replace humans with robots as soon as it became financially viable. In fact, you know, my dad and mom were in manufacturing their whole life, and basically the places where they work, like when my dad retired, he worked at a place called Wacker Corporation, LOL. But they made like ground pounders and steamrollers and jackhammers. They had military contracts, all this kind of stuff. I remember going to company picnics where there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people there. That's just at the company picnic. I'm sure not all the employees show up at the company picnic. By the time my dad retired, there's about 7 people working in the factory. You know, they probably just couldn't fire my dad because they had a union and he had been around for 40 years. You know, robots have been replacing humans, whether it's automation or they're big robots, or now we're talking about these humanoid robots, all that kind of stuff. This isn't necessarily new, but when you artificially inflate the wages for people, right, it just creates more incentive to replace them with technology. This comes amid a bloodbath in the tech industry with tens of thousands of workers losing their jobs. Company bosses say that automation would allow the company to sell twice as many products. Yeah, but who's going to buy your products? Who's going to buy your products when everybody's out of work? This is the question that nobody's ever been answered. Like, who's going to buy your product when everybody in manufacturing's been fired? Everybody can't have a service company. Everybody can't be a social media influencer. Everybody can't make YouTube videos, because at the end of the day, the people buying ads on the videos need somebody on the other side of the video who has a job, who can pay, right? Who can pay them so that they can buy the things that are being advertised. As part of the effort, would see an attempt to rebrand the technology, calling it advanced technology or cobots instead of AI or robots. This is exactly what I was talking about with AI. This is going to have a catastrophic impact on the United States job market. And it's going to start with high-paying Americans first, right? That's the thing. They know that it's bad. That's why they're replacing. That's why they're rebranding it. Oh, they're not robots. They're cobots. They work with us. Do they? There's one dude who makes $250,000 a year to repair the robots, and that's the only person that works in these factories by the end of in the next 10 years. Amazon has been pouring money into AI in recent years, including $100 billion focused on expanding cloud and AI data centers. Recent profits have been attributed to AI within the company. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy claimed that millions of customers use Amazon Shopping Agent and expansion of the Alexa Plus and the launch of AI programs like Deep Fleet. Now, I don't use any of this stuff. I will occasionally use Grok as a search engine, but I don't have this stuff in my house. Now, I know you can't buy a cell phone without this crap enabled. Well, that's why I have a Google Pixel with graphene on it, and why I got used to that, because I want to do my little part to not make these AI companies so profitable that they get to replace millions and millions and millions of Americans. The suggested move comes amid wider layoffs in the tech industry. More than 150,000 tech workers lost their jobs in 2024, and another 22,000 have lost them this year. Do you want to know who they lost them to? It isn't all AI, right? It isn't all AI. It's H-1Bs. I really hope that Trump stays committed to taxing H-1B programs. We are importing low IQ. The average IQ in India is 75. The average IQ of a white person, who's all these people are replacing, let's be honest, in America is over 100. But they were telling us, well, we can't. Well, I mean, geez, we need to bring in all these Indian people because Americans just won't do these jobs. This news comes after some of the world's biggest apps suddenly stopped working on Monday as the Amazon Web Services went down and took a large portion of the internet with it. Apps including Snapchat, Reddit, Fortnite, Roblox, Canva, Duolingo, Rind, Doorbell, McDonald's, and all more all began experiencing problems around 3 a.m. Why? Well, because Amazon controls the vast majority of the cloud space that these companies use. It all started with getting rid of physical hard drives, right? So get rid of physical hard drives, and now you have to use the cloud. Even the new version of, I think it's a new version of Windows, or is it the new version of Office? Like by default makes you use OneDrive. They're garbage cloud service. Why on earth do I need to save a Word document to the cloud when I have 100 terabytes of hard drive space? It's so crazy. Like, everyone saw this. Now they can read it. Now they can make you dependent on their cloud service. I don't need cloud storage. I have enough storage on a thumb drive to store every file I'll ever need. Hours later, of course, Down Detector received more than 6.5 million reports globally, with the outage affecting 1,000 companies. Well, what do we think this is going to be? Experts warn of a crisis larger than the Great Recession growing inside of, quote, Donald Trump's economy. This isn't a Donald Trump problem. This is a tech industry problem that got out in front of any kind of regulation, and gasoline got poured on the fire because of minimum wage increases. There's a lot of people who can't afford, or there are a lot of companies that couldn't afford, right? That couldn't afford to replace employees with robots. But now they're like, oh yeah, this is great. Now an average laborer is going to cost me $70,000 a year plus insurance. I guess I can't afford them with a Tesla robot. Everybody's, it's, again, lessons from Washington, D.C., why $30 by 30 wage plan could leave servers with less. They're saying $30 minimum wage by 2030. This is in New York. By the way, progressive cities around America have pushed their minimum wage rates to unprecedented highs, with many now creeping north of $20 an hour. Many are going even further, however, by eliminating the tipped wage system for restaurants and hospitality sector employees. These rules allow restaurant owners to pay servers and bartenders below the minimum wage as long as employees can make up the gap in tips. By the way, I'm 100% fine with that going away. I am 110% fine with the tip wage loophole, poop hole loophole going away. I'm 100% fine with it. LA Council backs $30 minimum wage for hotels despite warnings. I mean, have you seen the price of hotels lately? Do you think people want to pay $300 a night for a Holiday Inn Express? No, they don't. Airbnb ruined it with their ridiculous fees. And now you have, massive layoffs. How many of these 600,000 people, by the way, are going to be replaced by, Indians? They're not getting rid of their H-1Bs that they have on slave labor contracts. They're firing American citizens. By the way, Amazon announced in June that it hit its workforce milestone of deploying more than 1 million robots in its fulfillment and delivery network, making it about 2/3 the size of the company's human workforce. The Amazon documents show that the company's goal is to automate 75% of its operations. Again, I'm not saying automation's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying this is what's coming. Amazon is the third largest employer in the entire United States behind the federal government and Walmart. To date, the company employs 1.5 million employees, most of whom work in warehouse or as delivery drivers. Well, who are these robots going to replace? Them. Right? That's who they're going to replace. Only a handful of companies in the United States have more than 600,000 employees on their payroll. Delivery company FedEx has an estimated 550,000. Reducing its size, reported by the Times, would be akin to FedEx disappearing completely. Studies have been done to show the impact of robots on human wages. As of 2020, every robot added by a company per 1,000 workers reduces wages by 0.42% and costs humans an estimated 400,000 jobs. 400,000 jobs. It's going to start with Silicon Valley. It's going to start with service industry, programming, development, and this was always going to be the future. But now with, by cramming up minimum wages everywhere, you're just ushering it in 5 years early. So I hope that having a $30 minimum wage gets you a lot of votes, but they're not going to have any jobs. That's the net of this. It's scary.